Here's some advice that I heard early on that completely derailed my progress as a guitar player. You need to learn all the scales. You know, master more scales, unlock more music, right? I had notebooks filled with scale diagrams. I could rattle off modes and patterns all day long. At the time, I knew more scales than a lot of players that sounded way better than me. Now, it sounded impressive, and it felt like the right path. But looking back, that advice cost me years of progress. Because while I was chasing quantity through knowledge, they were chasing the music. And after a lot of time wasted, I finally realized it's not just about how many scales you know. It's, can you even make one scale sound good? Okay, so let me just touch on what the problem is with learning all the scales. Just learning them on their own is not going to automatically show you how to use them to make music. So I'm going to show you an approach that I encourage every guitar player to take when you're learning scales. Because in my opinion, it'll automatically start you off on the right foot with using the scale to make music rather than just mechanically learning it. And we're going to start with arguably the most important scale of all, which is the major scale. Let's use the key of A. I'm going to show you the 7-note major scale all on just one string. Start with the 2nd fret of the G string, 4th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, 11th fret, 13th fret, and then for the octave, right here on the 14th fret. So why are we learning this on just one string? Well, we got to learn what each one of those notes do for us musically, because each one of them has their own musical personality, you could say. 7 different notes, 7 strangers that we want to turn into our 7 best friends. We're basically Snow White in the 7 notes. All right, so starting with the first note here, which is A, that's the root note. And by the way, droning an open A string is the best way to get to know how each of these notes sound in relation to the root. So with the root, it's the ultimate home base, right? Because it resolves everything to A. So that first note, right, also known as the 1 or the tonic, right? We know that that's the safest note you can say, especially when you're soloing. Let's move on to the second note. Ooh, a little bit of tension there, but it's kind of cool. It almost wants to resolve back to 1. Or at least go somewhere, right? Hanging on that note is very cool and pretty, but not always the most resolute sounding, right? But that's cool, all right. So we got to know the second note there a little more. Let's learn the third note. So here's the third. A little bit brighter than that second note. This kind of also resolves in a way, similar to the root note. Not as much, but it really tells us that we're in a bright, happy key like A major, right? Or even if we were to walk from the 1 through the 2 to the 3, that already sounds like a melody, right? We're getting musical now already, and we're only 3 notes in. Next up, we have the 4th, which has kind of a suspenseful sound to it. It wants to also resolve. And let's keep going to the 5th. Interesting sound, right? This is all good information. We're like gathering some data on what each of these notes sound like. And it becomes easier to get musical just by navigating the scale this way, right? Let's keep going. We got the 6th. Ooh, a lot of tension there. But cool, you can see how that could actually be useful, you know, especially because a big part of music is tension and release, right? We want to have that tension so we can bring about that resolution, that release. So we can say like, let's say we want to resolve from the 6th to the 3rd. You could feel that resolution, right? Let's keep going. We got the 7th here. Even more tension. It's hard to just linger on that note. But this is all good information, right? This is telling us, so okay, the notes that are the most tense, we don't want to spend too much time on those. Or maybe you do. Maybe if that's part of your style to just, you know, build and build and build tension. But use your own ear to help determine what sounds good to you. If something sounds tense and jarring, It's okay. Don't avoid those notes completely, but use them to your advantage, right? To create tension and provide the release, right? So from the 7th and then resolving on that octave, right? It just really wants to resolve. So just by droning that A string and playing each note in that scale, we were able to determine and get to know the personality, the musical personality of each of those notes. That's very important information. Not to mention, it's only 7 notes. It's not that many notes, right? Even if you learn the major scale all across the fretboard and all of the patterns, you're just playing those same 7 notes, but in different octaves and in different positions on the fretboard. So if you start by making those 7 fundamental notes sound good, you'll be able to make them sound good no matter where on the fretboard you're playing, no matter what octave. By the way, if you're getting value out of this lesson, do me a favor, hit that like button and consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't already. So now that we've learned the scale on one string and we've learned the sound of each of those 7 notes, let's just kind of mosey on through it real quick and see if we can come up with something musical. We're going to do something we call wandering, which is a very useful technique with getting to know a scale. Is literally just wandering through playing random notes, having no real agenda other than just trying stuff out and finding out if it works. So I'll show you what that looks like. We'll start by droning that A string, and let's just start on some note. All right, and then let's just play another one somewhere else. That's kind of cool. Where does it want to go from here? Let's see. That's a nice little phrase. Just going from the 4th up to the 6th to the 5th. Creating somewhat of a resolution there. Just from doing that, right? Just by starting somewhere, it kind of encouraged this sort of melody. You know, the melody almost wrote itself in a way. That's the point that you want to get to when you're doing this stuff. And it's simple, man. Just play a couple notes at a time in random spots, and you may stumble on a cool melody or phrase that you otherwise wouldn't have, right? Let's keep it going. So I'll start here on the 2nd. Ooh. And then let's just get crazy. Let's go from the 2nd to the 7th. That's really crazy sounding. Give a little bit of a bend in there. Aha. It just wanted to go to that 3rd, right? Sounding a bit like, you know, Joe Satriani or Steve Vai. Like they were always great at doing that sort of vocal approach to playing the scale. And in a way, this is how you can get into that style, right? Where you're thinking of playing the scale like how a singer would approach it. A singer's not interested in just barraging you with notes, right? A singer's about making an impact, right? Being expressive. And this is what it's going to look like when you're practicing this. Just take the pressure off of yourself. Don't try to speed through it. Do a couple notes at a time and just wander. Hit different notes, try it out, and you'll be amazed at what you come up with. I'm serious. And this approach is not just limited to the major scale. Let's learn the minor scale, A minor, right? So starts off the same root note, right? The same first note, then the same second note on that 4th fret there. Then when we get to the 3rd, that's different on the 5th fret here. So not this. That sounds bright and happy and major, right? This one sounds brooding and serious, minor, right? Just that one note so far is what's different. It's crazy how much of a change that is. Changing one note, but it's a big change in its tonal center and how it's sounding, right? The 4th and 5th are the same, so we got 5th fret and then 7th fret. And then the 6th is different. We have a minor 6th, which is the 10th fret there. And then we have the minor 7th, which is the 12th fret. And then the octave root right here on the 14th fret. So one more time. And same thing with the major scale. We can listen to every note on its own, get to know these new 7 strangers or whatever, or technically just like not even 7, right? Because it's sharing a lot of the same notes. But especially like that minor 3rd, that minor 6th, that minor 7th. That's such a somber melody there. And then we got, you know, the 4th, the 5th to the minor 6th there. And the minor seventh just sounds real serious. Does not sound happy and major anymore. You know, you can get very, very expressive with it. So just with those two scales, major and minor, right? Those two 7-note scales, you have this huge spectrum of emotion to explore, right? From bright and happy to brooding, serious, and somber. It's pretty amazing how changing a handful of notes can really make that big of a difference musically. And just to quickly demonstrate how this applies to any scale, we can do A Lydian, same thing. We can do A Phrygian. So exploring all these different nuanced emotions that you get from all these different scales, by approaching it this way, narrowing it down to just one string, getting to know every note in that scale, just on that one string, and then wandering through, finding little phrases, it's going to make you that much more attuned to the music that's available within these scales. And before you start throwing on backing tracks to try this out with, which I do want you to do, but I want you to start just you and your guitar, droning that open A string, and just playing through the notes and just really listen, like really use your ear to determine and gather all that data of like what these notes are doing for you. What are they making you feel? All this stuff is very important because it's going to show up when you're actually trying to take a solo using one of these scales, right? And you'll almost subconsciously know how to pull out a certain emotion with that scale because you spent all that time getting to know all of those notes. That's why I said, take the notes in the scale and turn them from strangers to your best friends. That is how you will learn how to actually say something with those notes. And even though we only focus on the key of A and A minor today, this applies to all of the musical keys. And if you don't already happen to know how to find all of those keys on your fretboard, I actually got the thing that's going to get you there in record time, believe it or not. And it just so happens to be my free gift to you for hanging out with me today. This bad boy right here. This right here is your free guide on how to instantly solo in any key. You're going to learn in a matter of minutes how to find every key on your fretboard. And then you'll learn how to comfortably approach soloing in all of those keys. So just be sure to click here to claim your copy, or if you're watching this on TV, scan the QR code or check the link that I left for you in the description box. What you've learned today will help you stop collecting scales like I did and start making music. Because it's not really about knowing everything, but it's about knowing how to play with meaning.